So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've never been here before, but I'm impressed. I really am impressed. So this is a wonderful opportunity. I want to express my deep appreciation for your warm welcome, and thank you for your hospitality. And thank you, Kelly, for inviting me to deliver this address. She went back and forth with me for several months before I decided to take up her offer. I was out of the country for the last 3 or 4 months. Before I forget, I want to introduce my brother, Zia. He traveled with me to Turkey and India, and I just came back from Dubai about 2 weeks ago. So thank you, Kelly, for inviting me to deliver this address. I'm humble and I'm honored. It is a pleasure to be here today with those of you from small business as a part of Montgomery County's Small Business University. I wish that this program has been in place when I started my own small business 20 years ago, today, as a matter of fact. It might have helped me to avoid few of the bumps in the road on my own entrepreneur journey. As those of you in this audience know from your own small business involvement, the entrepreneur journey is not always a straight line. Indeed, there were numerous twists and turns in my journey. I hope some of what I have learned along the way will help you in your own journey. So I have titled my talk, The Entrepreneur Leadership, the Essence of the Leadership. So before I share my thoughts on the entrepreneur leader, I would like to say a few words about the entrepreneur. So what and who is an entrepreneur? There are various definitions. The one that appeals the most to me is the entrepreneur is a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. I know that definition because it emphasizes any enterprise and extends the definition beyond just a business owner. A person can be entrepreneurial in any type of organization as long he or she is willing to step up to the plate and take a leadership role in shaping the direction of the enterprise or the portion which he or she controls. In that regard, let me share one of the other definitions that is relevant. That definition is of entrepreneurship. It was provided by Professor Stevenson of the Harvard Business School almost 40 years ago. Professor Stevenson said, and I quote, "Entrepreneurship is the pursuit of opportunity without regard to resources currently controlled." End of his quotation. In other words, entrepreneurs are not constrained in their thinking. So let me combine those two definitions into my own definition. Entrepreneurs are dreamers who dare. They are doers. They are the risk takers that seize the moment and take calculated risks to create the enterprises and the jobs of the future. They confront the uncertainty with optimism, ingenuity, and creativity. Working within that construct, in my opinion, the entrepreneur leader is a person who recognizes that leaders are made and not born. Think small to win big. See opportunity where others see problems. Does the right thing. Does well, but also does good. Let me address each of these characteristics in turn. It all begins with a person who wants to be an entrepreneur leader. An old American saying goes, leaders are born and not made. I stand before you as a living proof that that is incorrect. Leaders are made and not born. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. The keys to the kingdom were not handed down to me when I reached adulthood. I have mentioned my journey, so let me tell you a little bit about it. I came to the United States from India, and I see a lot of faces here from that continent, at the age of 15 to pursue the American dream across the Atlantic Ocean. At that young age, I was not quite sure how would I achieve that dream. But I knew even then that being a business owner would be part of it. I also knew that it would mean being a part of my family and developing my own career track with a little parental or professional guidance. For those of you in the audience who have followed similar paths, I know you recognize this was a daunting challenge, but it was also an opportunity. That's the way I saw it, an opportunity to define myself in America, the land of opportunity. The process of defining myself here in America has 5 stages. Getting a good education, learning how business works, becoming an entrepreneur, building a strong and talented management team, and staying the course. So I got my bachelor's and master's degree in computer science at the University of Colorado that gave me the knowledge that I needed to go into business. When I graduated with my advanced degree, I was not prepared to go directly to owning a business. That is because I did not know how business operated. I had no real exposure to business prior to starting college. I knew I needed experience before launching my own business venture. So I worked with the 2 major information technology companies in the Washington, D.C. area for about a decade to learn the ropes and the ins and outs of doing business with the United States government. That gave me the skills and the real world grounding that I needed to start my own venture. So after doing my apprenticeship in 1994, I purchased a company called QSS Group Incorporated for $45,000. I mortgaged my house. Within 13 years, along with my key management team, we took that from a workforce of 1 employee, that's me, to more than 3,000 employees and approximately $300 million in revenue. In 2007, I sold my business to Ross Perot, Pro Systems Corporation. That was a good trajectory for the business, and I sold it for several $100 million. I had a role to play in that success. If you ever meet Ross Perot, he's one of the most wonderful persons I have met. We cut a deal on a piece of napkin paper at a lunchtime many, many years ago. I hope you do the same thing one day. But when people ask me how I became successful, I respond that it was not me, but we who made it happen. My team of talented senior managers was central to everything. So success in a business is a team sport. I'll come back to that team concept again in the next section of my speech. So before I close this section, let me talk about passion and persistence. Those are the ingredients for the stick to it. They were essential because, as I said earlier, my journey was not a straight line. It was not always easy, and the final destination was not certain. During the early years, there were several issues to be dealt with that I'm assuming that most of you have confronted. Will we win the contract? Will I get the bank loan? Will I be able to make payroll? There were some 24-hour days, many, many, many dark and desperate days in my life, and many, many sleepless nights. I'm assuming that most of you have been there and done that as well. So what enabled me to prevail on my journey was a belief in myself and those around me, and the opportunity presented by the American dream. So success have taught me how to move forward. As importantly, failure taught me to never go backward. From the time I started my business, I knew implicitly that you needed to move ahead, and then if you did not, you would be left behind. So enough about my own personal journey. I hope that it is instructive. I share it not because I expect your journey to be like mine, but because I believe that we can learn from each other's journey. While each of our journeys should be and must be different, I think there's a common approach that an entrepreneurial leader can employ as a general guideline for achieving success. And that is, think small to win big. As Woody Allen said, 90% of life is just showing up. I became successful, and I believe you can as a business owner as well, by concentrating on the 10%. That means focusing and paying careful attention to the critical few areas that made a difference for a business success. For me, in my business, they were developing a distinctive core competence, establishing a laser beam customer focus, creating niche differentiation, ensuring perfection in performance. So let me address each of these areas in turn. First, core competence. When I started my business, IT firms in DC were a dime a dozen. Nothing sets them apart. I decided that my firm could stand alone through an integrated blend of engineering, science, and information technology skills. The IT skills were the basic requirements. The science engineering skills separated us from the pack. Second, laser beam customer focus. I'm sure that most of you follow Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, who purchased the Washington Post. So Bezos has promised to bring his obsessive commitment to the customer to turning around the Washington Post. I'm certain that will pay off big time, as did our obsessive commitment to the customer at my company, QSS Group. We got our first assignment from NASA because of my scientific background and executive experience at Raytheon. We treated NASA extremely well. We exceeded their expectations, and as a result, got significant add-on from 1994 to 1997. NASA was only our client. We used our track record there as the basis to expand our business. So that brings me to the third area, niche differentiation. We did not expand willy-nilly. We expanded outward from our core client business to those with a similar characteristic and needs. QS's first work outside of NASA was NOAA, and then FDIC. After that, we added the Department of Defense and many, many other agencies. We were able to expand and grow quickly because of our perfection in performance. Past performance is critical in getting government contracts. I knew that many IT firms were late on deliverables and sometimes did a poor project management and shoddy technical work. I decided that my own firm would stand apart from other firms in this competitive arena and establish performance as promised as QS's corporate motto. It was more than a motto. It was the way we did business and a springboard for getting additional business. So those are the four areas in which I thought small to win big at QSS. While your strategies and tactics will differ given the nature of your organization, I think the core management principles of core competence, customer focus, niche differentiation, and perfection in performance are cross-cutting and can be used to be successful in any enterprise. I would add to those 4 areas one that I mentioned earlier, that is building the right top management team through recruitment, selection, and sharing the wealth as a part of the formula for business success. Your core group, the 4 to 6 individuals closest to you, can make the difference between an organization that is moderately successful. That brings me to the 3rd characteristic of the entrepreneurial leader, which I will address briefly. The entrepreneurial leader sees opportunities where others see challenge and problems. Some people refer to that as vision. I call it identifying an unfilled need and satisfying it. Sometimes that was the case of Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple Computer, with the iPhone, Jeff Bezos at Amazon. It includes creating and shaping customer expectation for a type or quality of product or services that does not exist in the marketplace currently. It is what we see occurring now with the trend towards 3D manufacturing and others. No matter what it is, the entrepreneurial leader is never satisfied with the status quo. She or he is always pushing the outer edge of the envelope to do things faster, better, cheaper, and differently in a manner that matters to the customer. As I noted near the outset of this speech, the entrepreneur does this by finding the resources required to exploit opportunities when they present themselves. As Professor Stevenson from Harvard University put it, and I quote, "They see an opportunity and don't feel constrained from pursuing because they lack resources. They are used to making do without the resources." To put it another way, the entrepreneurs see the pursuit of possibilities as doing the right thing. It is one way of doing that. That brings to my 4th characteristic: the entrepreneur leader does the right thing. Doing the right thing is the essence of leadership. It is said that managers do things right, but leaders do the right thing. Leaders do the right thing. That should be in all fields: business, politics, religion, healthcare, education, to name just a few. The problem we have, too many people in leadership positions today in the large enterprises that do not do the right thing. They're executives at the top of the organizational food chain whose sole purpose to advance their own career and earning with a little to no concern for customers, for employees, or the community they should serve. I say those of you in small business enterprises as a counterbalance to this disturbing trend. If you have been reading the Wall Street Journal and Financial Times or any of the business journal these days, you have probably seen reference to the need to create an economic virtuous cycle, a condition in which positive results engender more positive results and help to grow the economy. Today, the economy should be moving towards a virtuous cycle because many large companies have been and are reaping record profits. Indeed, we have been stuck in a variable cycle. That is because those corporations are doing nothing to little to nothing to create new jobs or to raise wages or reward the line-level employees appropriately for their increased productivity and contribution to stellar business performance. As a result, these positive results are not reinforcing and extending themselves. To my mind, the reason for this is simple and straightforward. The virtuous cycle may be defined as an advanced and abstract economic principle or concept, but for the virtuous cycle to come into play in the real world, you would need virtuous organizations. So you may ask, what is a virtuous organization? Here is my definition. The virtuous organization is the one that has a strong moral compass and a compelling mission that creates value for customers, employees, and the community. Virtuous organizations do the right thing. In my opinion, those of you from smaller enterprises have a special challenge and opportunity to be an entrepreneur leaders in helping to jumpstart the virtuous cycle here in America by the way in which you build and manage your enterprise to make them virtuous organization. So to build a virtuous organization, you'll have to play 3 roles: a navigator, capital creator, and a value generator. As a navigator, you must chart the course and shape the way your enterprise sails the seas. You must make sure it does the right thing and does them right. You must build both organizations' core competence and its core consciousness. Core consciousness things the organizations believe, such as integrity, quality, and excellence front and center in the organization's psyche and mode of operations. So when I said capital creator, probably the first thing that came to mind was financial capital. Financial capital, however, is a dependent variable. It requires the right business model and other forms of capital creation in order to yield the appropriate return of the investment. So let me highlight those other forms of capital creation where you, as the leader of a virtuous organization, should concentrate. They are intellectual capital development and spiritual capital development. In terms of the intellectual capital, every organization has what I call its organizational IQ. That is the combination of all of the IQs of the employees in the company. Your challenge is to ensure that the organization is structured and operated to allow the employee to use all of their individual brain power in order to achieve its minimum IQ. Your opportunity is to create the collaboration and teamwork that results in synergy, thus creating intellectual capital that exceeds the total of all of the individuals in the business. Spiritual capital is the invisible force that moves the organizations and individuals. Your challenge and opportunity here is to create a positive motivational force field that causes all of the associates in your business to want to bring their A game into play day in and day out in order to achieve the organization's business and its mission. Finally, there is your role as a value generator. Michael Porter of Harvard Business developed a business management concept called the value chain. The chain is comprised of primary activities such as inbound logistics, operations and outbound logistics, and support activities such as human resource management and technology. Porter said that each element in the chain should add value. And when they all did, it gives the business a competitive advantage. An added value chain is definitely essential for business success. In the virtuous organization, there's a matching concept that is the value circles. These are circles that emanate outward from the organization's leaders to employees to customers and ultimately to the community. That brings me to the final topic of my talk today, that entrepreneurial leader does well, but also do good. She or he understands their vision and value, shape and define the organization's culture. If those values include concern, caring, compassion, and a commitment to making a positive difference in society, they are reflected in everything that the organization does, from the manner in which it operates, treats employees and customers, and to its community involvement and philanthropic initiatives. Think of it this way. The entrepreneurial leader is the person who drops a rock in a pond, and that as the circles ripple out, they reflect his or her image and likeness. I understand that concept both when I was a small business owner and since the sale of my company to Parole Systems in 2007. That sale allowed me to establish a private foundation that supports educational, cultural, and artistic causes in the United States and around the world. I firmly believe, as President John F. Kennedy said, to whom much is given, much is expected. I'm always reminded and guided by this phrase. That is why I'm focusing today on sharing and giving back. In many ways, the process of sharing and giving back is as and even more rewarding than any of the money that I earned throughout my business career. I firmly believe that those of you who are in and come from smaller organizations are inclined to do well and to do good. So I was heartened to read the results of a recent national study by PNC Financial Services, which showed 37% of small business owners are more optimistic about the company's prospects over the next 6 months. 32% plan to give out raises, 22% plan to hire new employees this year. That is a start, an indication that just as I expected, entrepreneurs and small enterprises are beginning to take the lead in moving the American economy forward. In my opinion, that is a very, very good thing. That is because when small businesses work, America works, and Americans are put to work. More importantly, small businesses and enterprises make the community connection. Small businesses are of community. In contrast, large businesses may be in a community, but they're never part of it. We are living in a trying, tough, and turbulent times in America. We are at a critical pivot point for America. We are at a critical crossroad in America. Our citizens have lost trust in most of our institutions. Research shows, however, they still respect and trust small businesses and entrepreneurs. That is why, as I look at those of you in the audience today, I see the best hope for renewing America and the belief in the American dream. President Ronald Reagan called America as a shining city upon a hill. John Winthrop said in 1632 on a ship Arabella, America is a city on a hill. You must always consider all the eyes are upon you. Indeed, all the eyes upon you as you represent the small business. Your effort will make sure that America does not slip into the shadow. I firmly believe that the respect and trust that citizens can find in small business people and those leaders from a small organization is well deserved. That is because you have done it in the old-fashioned way. You have earned it. In closing, if you continue to stay the course as an entrepreneurial leader by recognizing that leaders are made and not born, invite thinking small to win big, seeing opportunities where others see problems, doing the right thing, and doing well and also good. You will continue to earn it. In closing, I hope that the thoughts that I have shared with you today that have made a modest contribution to increasing your personal earning power, and that in return, you will use that power to share the wealth to become the voice for those who are voiceless, to become the hope for those who are hopeless, and to give back to those communities you call home. I wish all of you continued success in the future. Look forward to when our paths cross again. I'm confident you will rise to the challenge and you will achieve your goal. Thank you for the opportunity to share my ideas and thoughts. It has been a privilege to be here, and God bless you and God bless America.